Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to Radio Free Wall Street. 5 o'clock New York time. We're here. And we've got some interesting things. Let me tell you what the subject of my mind tonight is. And that is that Manafort, the man who did for sure collaborate with Russians, the man who for sure had Russian connections, the man for sure who collaborated with the Russians before he became part of the Trump campaign, while he was a campaign manager, while he was in the transition, while they went to Washington, and after, to this very day, is now getting busted for witness tampering. When you're in a federal case, they specify people you can't talk to who are witnesses involved in the case because they don't want people arranging their testimony. And they've got intercepts and they've busted them on this thing. Now, when I see the smoke with Donald Trump, the smoke days, that's where there's some big blow off. He invited the football players to the White House, knowing full well what their position was, knowing exactly where they stood, and he then canceled it. And this, to me, was a setup from the beginning for a publicity stunt, making big headlines, right? Notice that every time there's a derogatory headline, something to do with the people associated with the campaign, his son, memos, Giuliani does some dog and pony show, so does Donald, so that all of a sudden the attention of the media is somewhere else. Now, he's really good at it. But something that Donald Trump does not yet understand, and that is that the media and his live reality TV show from the Rose Garden Oval Office will not decide his fate. Okay, this is going to end up with a special prosecutor, and then this is going to end up with impeachment in the House of Representatives. And the strategy is, as you know, to go ahead and see to it he can stack the deck and make sure that he has nothing but friendlies there. Now, Donald's problems are rising by the day. Contrary to Fox News spin, which I monitor constantly, the reality is that more and more people closer to him are starting to roll over. Reality is that there was collusion, and that the fact that it has not been proven is because nothing's been proven. The case is still under investigation, and the investigators, get this, have not released their report. So that means that, of course, it's not been proven because it's not been charged yet. That remains to be seen, and that is pretty obvious to people who are looking at the thing without the rose-colored glasses or without the tint. They say, there's a lot of information here that's looking very ugly. Now, this is a market event, and this is an event that will shape the economy and our trades into the future. Let me explain what I mean here. It's very important to understand this. Since Donald Trump won the election, corporate CEOs have been extremely optimistic, the longest streak I've ever seen. In the last report, that all changed. These guys are not optimistic anymore, and it's because that somebody's going to let you write yourself trillions of dollars in bonus checks, buyback, share buyback, and do all the secret stuff these guys really love and live for. Obviously, that's a pretty popular person for you. People vote their interests, okay? Now that the trade sanctions are taking effect, all that's changed, okay? Now we got a trade wars. We've got a crisis that won't quit, and it's starting to tell in a lot of different things we look at. Now, I'm warning you, they're going to cook the books and show amazing GDP numbers. I got a tip on that. I'll be showing you how they did that, okay? It's a real inventory manipulation game. But that's okay. That's okay. We know how to handle that. Well, what I want to warn you about is that the trading opportunities are opening up very quickly, okay? And I want to clarify something. Everybody's got a job description, okay? I am an analyst. I analyze things. I analyze markets. And I share my analysis with my analytical work with my subscribers. So the positions you hold are as a result of about thousands and thousands of possibility are distilled down to the ones that will fit the scenarios I see unfolding. And as you know, the start of the year has been very good for us, and a lot of our positions have been confirmed. But don't let me stop there. In other words, I'm giving you analytical work in things that are at trading at 2 and 3 times leverage, but there are enhanced leveraging that allows you to have 10 and 20. Okay. Now, you don't want to use those when you're not getting confirmation. In other words, you have to, because they're like poison. They're so powerful that you can't hold on to them for a long period of time. Where the derivatives we use, you can. But the problem is there's a time when you've got to kind of change your techniques. When you've got a situation where markets are clearly going your way and your analytical work is showing that you're correct, and that's where we're at. From gold and silver dropping to oil to Fed raising rates, interest rates, scenarios, the stock market, keep plunging after rally attempts. It's just a wonderful time, and it's a sweet spot. And it behooves you to take advantage of the sweet spots because I can tell you they don't last forever. Now, our analysis is the following. The U.S. is going into recession with the Fed raising rates. And that's pretty much something we all know. The next thing we have is an economy that's peaked. There's just no way to stimulate it any further. You've done it. You now have got an employment situation that Robbie the Robot's coming to town, and the people employed are the lowest echelon workers. And let me explain what I mean by lowest echelon workers. Look, everybody has their bags of tricks. Everybody has their problems and their parcel. Now, if you employ people, you know what I mean. There's a big difference in what happens with a good employer or bad ones. Bad ones can be destructive to your organization, the morale of the people around them. It's like an infectious disease. And you got to be very careful. It's almost like a marriage when you hire somebody. And it's almost like a divorce when you fire them. So it's a very difficult situation. And employers are not finding the kind of employees they would desire. Let me put it that way. And the problem is that these undesirables lower worker productivity, as you are seeing. They create unrest in the environment, and you're doing it out of desperation, okay? Now, there's a solution. The solution is Robbie the Robot comes to town. And I can tell you that there is extreme corporate interest, especially in the lower level, lower paying jobs, which, by the way, Robbie the Robot's easier to replace, right? I mean, Robbie the Robot is not going to do your medical research for you, but he certainly is going to grill the hamburgers in your restaurant and shake the French fries. And the kiosks will allow your customers to order on a touchscreen TV, which everyone knows how to use, and run your card through it, and that eliminates all those people at the cash register. In the grocery stores, we're going to use shelf stocking being done automatically. We've got checkouts, being your self-checkout. So there's profound changes on the way, driving the automobile. Now, you add that to the recession we're headed for, the fact that the labor pool of cheap foreign workers, and that really fueled those lower echelon jobs for a long time. Remember, you brought in the cheap Spanish workers, okay? Well, let's talk straight. They were so grateful to have a job and send money back home that they were really loyal, hard-working. Well, you've lost them. ICE has seen to it you can't bring them in there. Well, now you bring in someone who goes, that son of a bitch ain't paying me enough. You've got hateful people. They, are a piece of America. So to them, working for you is a punishment. Listen to me. When you've got these minimum wage people that are forced by the welfare office or by the parole guy or by the rehab that says you've got to get a job, okay, and they can't read and write, they've been through the system, they've been through the criminal justice system, they've got a drug problem, working for you is a curse, and you are a no-good son of a bitch. I know if you're employing these people, you know what I mean. Now, if you get somebody from Mexico that, made $5 a day and was treated like shit, and now you're paying them, a decent wage, and they can, buy themselves clothing, send money to their family, save money, and maybe get a business back home, they love you. And if you've employed them, you know what I mean. So there's a big difference in the morale, big difference in the productivity, and right now people are saying, frig it, I'm hiring Robbie the Robot. Now, that's an important factor in our analysis, okay? Now, the other side of this thing is that we are headed for class warfare. In other words, Donald Trump is pitting the labor force of America. Now, let's talk straight. If you were not the highest educated person in the world, and schooling ended at high school, you could go into a factory and make a good life in America. I mean, that was a reality. The automobile factories were great paying jobs. Assembly line work paid very, very well for Americans for a long time. So life was good, okay? Now the problem is with the competition from around the world, with automation, those are no longer good-paying jobs. And these people are losing their homes, they're losing their marriages, they're losing their kids, they're losing their sobriety, and it's having an effect. Now, Donald Trump comes along and says, well, I'm going to make that factory job great again, okay? And it's a deep state conspiracy that's really screwing you up, okay? We're going to stop that. And your employer really wants to pay you jobs, but he can't compete with China. Now, the problem with the CEOs, they can't say, well, Donald, no, that's not the problem. No, the problem is the automation. The problem is that, I'm competing against every factory in the world. I'm competing against every other factory. If my competitors are automated with a robotics that runs 50 cents an hour and replaces workers, well, I have no choice. So you can't say that. So now what you've done is you've created an enemy state. You've polarized the blue-collar, underskilled, let me say about underskilled very quickly. There was a time when a high-quality welder could make a lot of money, right? I can tell you that, I've used plate welding robots. They lay a bead, can't compare to a man, and the time is incredibly short and cheaper. I can tell you that in the tool and die shops and those kind of things, which I know a lot about, tool and die makers were high-paid people. Anymore with CAD/CAM designs, those guys, I don't need them. Okay, I can make very incredibly complicated parts on automatic machines with laser cutting and high-pressure water jet cutting that a man can't do, and all that's done by a guy with a mouse behind a computer screen that's got a high skill with CAD/CAM design. So we're eliminating a lot of what were skilled jobs with different skills. And, where you had a lot of tool and die makers, I can visualize, in a couple of companies I was associated with a room full of tool and die makers, okay? I mean, really, with little Allen screws, we're talking about these fantastic machining and gone, bye-bye. Bye-bye. CAD/CAM design done in the automatic machine, done in the plate, in, out, it's gone, dusted off and ready to go, okay? The whole room full of people is replaced by two machines, a room full. So the character of the workplace is changing. Now, what we have is an unfortunate situation, and I'm going to talk very frankly with you. The unfortunate situation is that Donald Trump is pitting these people and pitting the higher level people against each other, okay, in what I call class warfare. And the problem is that it's not evil or malfeasance on anyone's part. It's just that technology's changed. And being a factory worker with a high school education is not going to cut it anymore. There was a time when someone that was good with their hands, had a pretty good head on them, could make money working with their hands, okay? Those days are very quickly passing by. And those skill sets are not needed, okay? And that is a situation that is a revolution in the workplace that I don't believe that a lot of people want to understand. Now, that is also something that Donald Trump's capitalizing on. These populist presidents, and Donald Trump's message is one of what? If we're talking, I mean, you can love Donald. I love him too, because he makes us a lot of money. But what is the message? Well, it's basically hostility. It's hostility towards Mexico. It's hostility towards migrant workers. It's hostility towards Canada, the European Union, China, and it's going to make the impossible happen. Okay, we're talking entirely frankly here. Steel is never going to come back as an industry in the United States of America. Okay, coal is not going to be a fuel in the future. The world's coal will stay in the ground. Aluminum steel production is not going to occur here. Factories full of highly paid $50, $75, $100 an hour people are gone forever. And that is just a reality of the technology that's taking place out there in the world competitive situation. And Donald Trump tells these poor people that, by God, it's a deep state conspiracy. It's the FBI investigation against me. Why? They're trying to stop me. They're trying to stop me from the bad deals we made with NAFTA. Okay? The bad deals with China. It's taking your jobs and taking your money. I'm going to make coal great again, steel great again. These guys are going gaga crazy for that shit. It is not true. It is not going to happen. It is done deal. Okay? Less and less people will be employed in factories, and we're moving up the food chain. Okay? Right now, it's a lot of the repetitive tasks that the lower skilled people can take. You know, the guy that slides the dashboard to the car. I mean, this is not a person that has achieved greatness in their life. This is not a person that's developed a high skill set. Let's talk facts. You know, you're pushing the dashboard into the car, and you're connecting the harnesses, and then you're putting the screws in the places, and you're done. And you do it about 1 million times, okay? This is not going to happen in the future, okay? You push the dolly down the hall, and you stick the thermostat in their mouth, the cuff on their arm, and you take their blood pressure. Or you bring the pills in the little cups marked with their names on and deliver them. Done. That's not a job a person's going to do. It's not a job you want a person doing, okay? So we're moving into this whole other world that Donald Trump just refuses to acknowledge. Now, I don't know if he doesn't understand it or he doesn't want to. But now, everything is colored by the fact that Donald Trump has got a problem. Whether it's a deep state conspiracy or not, you can argue about it. Whether he's guilty or not, you can argue about it. But the fact of the matter is, the President of the United States has got a very nasty federal prosecutor that doesn't like him, that he doesn't like, that's on his ass like stink on shit. That's a reality. And the reality, the President doesn't like it, and he thinks it's wrong, and he thinks he's being attacked, and he's attacking back. That's a reality. Another reality is that he's polarizing the country, where he's saying he can pardon himself, and there is no conspiracy, and I committed no crime, and he's energizing his base to come help him come elections. Okay, that's another reality. But in this polarization, in this attack, his base cheers, yeah, Donald, you're putting sanctions against Mexico. They took my job down there. I love you, Donald. And Donald, I'm a steel mill, and I want my steel great again at Nucor, and I need my raise. Thank you, Donald. And Donald, I want coal great again, and I want the factory jobs and cars we made in America, okay? The reality is that these are policies that are detrimental to the economy of the United States of America, okay? These are trade wars that will end up further slowing an already slowing economy, okay? And this polarization is bad booga. It's bad news, okay? Look at the amount of violence and hostility that's increasing against the establishment in the streets, okay? Look at the displaced people, and there are many, many more of them than we'd like to admit. And this is a result of a populist president trying to take advantage of the situation, okay? Now we got a trade war. And the trade war, by the way, is from very nasty people, and I admit that they're very nasty, and they're targeting, like, you know, the Farm Belt. Mexico's going to pose a 20% tariff on U.S. pork, okay? They're going after wheat farmers and grain farmers. They're going after the dairy industry. They're going after people, Harley-Davidson manufacturers, that are part of Donald Trump's core constituency group. Well, what happens with that? Donald Trump says, see, I told you, look what the Chinese is doing about our cars. And look at those nasty Canadians, what they're doing, and Harley-Davidson, and Mr. Wheat Farmer, look at this, and soybean guy. Look, I told you these people are our enemies. Well, you made them your enemies, okay? So this polarization has an upside and a downside. The downside is that it's going to get much uglier as the Donald Trump feels more threatened. And we're not going to go into this deep state, restate, right, wrong. It's a reality. Donald Trump feels threatened. As President of the United States, he can threaten back. And he is. And we're going to analyze not whether or not it's right or wrong, or he should do it or shouldn't, but the deleterious effect it's having on the economy. And we come to the conclusion that it's a very dangerous situation, and it will represent an economic slowdown, and it's going to make a lot of money for us as the stock market collapses, okay? We're doing extremely well on interest rate instruments, especially with our enhanced ones. We're doing extremely well on the crack up in oil. We're getting ready to do gasoline. We're looking at a situation that bodes very well for the future. And that's where you need to keep your focus. Now, we should have everyone do their job, okay? I am the analyst. I'll tell you a story. When I had the brokerage firm, we had 30, 40, 50 brokers. And I told them, I said, listen, you guys are basically brokers. You're contact people with our clients. You're salesmen. And it's a job. Now, if you know how to analyze markets and you trade, tell me to kiss your ass and you become an analyst and you analyze, okay? But if you don't have that gift, then you have another job description and don't try to be both. Now, part of the problem with the industry is they want to pretend like these guys you're talking on the phone know what they're talking about, and these talking heads on these TV shows, and in reality is they don't know shit from Shinola. But I am a really good analyst. and I really know how to trade this, and I really know how to walk you through. So my skill set becomes your skill set. Understand that? And it's time to up your game, okay, if you're so inclined. In other words, it's time that you understand where we're at. That's why there's so much time spent and hours every day giving you specific markets, giving you specific opportunities, presenting to you how we see these things unfolding, okay? Then it's your job to decide if you want to do it, and then it's your job to decide how much you want to do. But let me tell you something. There is not that many times in the game that we are in such a sweet spot. And I want you to really understand that, okay? And this is a situation that will never pass this way again, okay? And you might notice for a long time I haven't spoken these words to you. I'm telling you, now is the time. Now's the time to engage. Now is a market that we really understand what's going on. Now is an interest rate rising, recession, economy, trade wars, and a president who is under attack and is attacking back. Now, again, this is not a matter of what your belief system is. It's a matter of a crisis that's being built. Whether it's his fault or whether he's supposed to do it all that, who gives a shit? There's a crisis. Wake up and smell the coffee. There is a trade war. Wake up, there is an economy in trouble. Wake up, there is a Fed raising rates. There is an oil price collapse that is causing crisis that is growing and growing and growing. And what's happening is it's getting uglier and uglier as time goes on. And this is a situation that would be foolish not to take advantage of and not to capitalize on, because you're not going to get the chance again. Now, we have a pretty good handle on where Donald Trump is on this thing. And we also have a pretty good situation that we have a pretty good understanding of what the issues are involved, right? In other words, it's whether there was Russian collusion, whether he interfered in the investigation, whether he can be indicted, forced in a subpoena to testify, and whether he can pardon himself. So the battle lines are pretty clear. And also, his response to this is pretty clear. In other words, Donald Trump absolutely positively feels like he's being wrongfully attacked, absolutely positively feels like he cannot be indicted, he cannot be subpoenaed, he cannot be forced to testify. And Donald Trump absolutely is using trade wars and sanctions against Iran and trying to get a peace prize from Kim Yum Numchucks to enhance his position in the elections. Because he's right about it. He's rightly sussed out that if he loses the Congress, and he loses the House, and he loses the Senate, Senate, House, big deal, Congress, big deal. And that is a possibility no matter how much blue sky they want to blow up your ass and tell you it's never going to happen, okay? It is at risk. So Donald Trump has got to make sure that he keeps the House of Representatives and he keeps the Senate. And absolutely, if he does not, the analysis by many, many people, me included, is that they're going to indict his ass. And they don't like him. And that is going to create a huge embarrassment and create a lot of problems because he will have to testify. He will have to defend himself. He will have to appear, okay? Because he may have a right to pardon himself, but guess what? That vehicle that he wants to use does not apply to impeachment proceedings, okay? And although it's not clear, and you might make an argument about for or against and what his pardon powers are, it's very clear what the impeachment powers are, okay? High crimes and misdemeanors. And they just have to vote on it. They don't have to even prove it. I'm mentioning that to you. So this is the game that's going on. Now, whether or not he's impeached, and whether or not he's indicted, and whether or not he has to testify, the answer is that he is going to throw the economy to turmoil. He is going to use the bully pulpit. He is already, with the sports figures and standing up and who didn't stand, all that horse shit. Okay? And he's doing it masterfully from a media standpoint only. Look, the guy was a great TV reality show host. There's no doubt about that. Okay, he really understands how to play it. The problem is his audience is not exactly the smartest people in the world. They're not the sharpest tools in the box. And he's playing the populist role, and people like him play to people like that and prey on their ignorance and prey on their fear and prey on their life that is failing, okay? If someone is wigged out on opioids, that's not a sign that life's going well. If someone's unemployed watching Fox News all day long, okay, with not paying the mortgage and bills undone and wife leaving them, that's not a sign that life is going well, okay? These are people who have very troubled lives. And Donald Trump wants to give an excuse instead of saying, you know what, get off your ass, get down there to the community college, start studying after you get from your Chevy factory, out of your coal mine, out of your steel mill, and learn skills for the 21st century, okay? And it's better to blame someone else for your problems. If I was a coal miner, and my daddy was a coal miner, and I'm a coal miner, and coal mining is what I do, and I ain't doing nothing else. Okay, fine. Then you've made your decision. And then saying, look, I got a black lung disease. I got a lousy job that has no future. I've got to move somewhere. I've got to get an education. I got up my skill set, and I'm going to go on LinkedIn and find out what kind of jobs are in demand, and I'm going to train for it, okay? See the difference? Or I'm going to get in business, okay? I'm going to use the wonderful Internet and the retail opportunities and the marketing that's opening up and take advantage of it. I'm going to become a really good trader. I'm going to develop the skills. I'm going to develop the equipment. I'm going to develop the know-how. I'm going to hire the people like me to show you how to do it, okay? But you got to have a plan. You got to have a plan because nothing's not acceptable. And this is all part of the skill set, okay? When I entered this game, you basically had the agricultural commodities to trade, and you had gold and silver. Shit. You got crosses in currencies. You've got you got indexes on everything. I mean, there's never been more great trading tools available that are readily accessible. I mean, you've got trading tools that were only available to people that had, $100 million, multi-million-dollar mega accounts that could make deals, and now these instruments are available. So it's a wonderful time, okay? And that's my skill set. What your skill set is, you have to understand what you want to deploy to this, and you've got to understand if you agree with the rationale. You don't want to make a trade you don't have confidence in, okay? And you want to make a trade that you understand, what is going to make this market go up? What is going to make this market go down? What are the factors here, okay? And I'm really good at explaining that. So what I'm saying to you is that this is an incredibly rich target environment. We have lots of conflicts and uncertainty, which is a great thing to trade in. You have a market that is in disarray in Europe, as you have seen. You have got a wipeout happening in Argentina, Mexico, all of South America, including Brazil. You've got an Italian economy that cannot survive, and debt cannot be paid back. And this is a target-rich environment. You've got a president that is admittedly, right or wrong, deep state or no deep state, he's at war with somebody, and he's throwing hand grenades, okay? And he is using the media, and he's using trade, and he's using Kim Jong nunchucks, and he's using factory workers and unions, and pitting them against the people he regards as enemy. This is a very nasty, vindictive man, right or wrong. Okay, maybe you might think he has a right to be. That's going to go after his enemies because he's an ass-kicking cool dude. Okay, well, that means there's going to be a fight. Okay, whether he's a cool dude, ass-kicking, right or wrong, understand that. So understand that separate yourself from what you hope happens, and understand that there's a lot of things happening that, no matter how they unfold, are very deleterious to an economy, and that these are very much tradable events. And you very much have a president that is absolutely going gaga, apeshit crazy, and this is going to end up very badly. How about that, you see? So I have chosen a long time ago that, I'm going to take advantage of crises, and I am going to make the most out of bad situations, not of my making. And this is the direction I want to go in, and the direction I want to take you in. It is a whole new ballgame. It is a whole new economy. It is a whole new business cycle that has changed, not necessarily with Donald Trump coming to power, but with the fact that, listen, you've had the 10 years of quantum easing. You have the lowest interest rates in the history of mankind. That game is done. It's over. Whatever you believe, whatever you don't believe, it's basically a major change in how things are going to work, a major change in the direction, and you need to be there for that and understand it. And, it's one of these situations that a wonderful, wonderful environments here with very understandable crises. And, like I said, whether it's right or wrong, and it's a good thing or a bad thing. Okay, it's very important. Listen, I have watched CEO optimism soar for 2 years. And I woke up today, and that stopped. Now, let me explain something about this CEO optimism. When they're optimistic, they're investing. When they're not optimistic, they're not investing. Is that getting through to you? They're making a synapse connection there? Okay? Now, when I got them not happy with what's going on in the trade wars, when I've got them in a situation where they're not feeling good about an economy, they're not willing to invest, the Fed is raising rates, business sales are slowing, they've got a problem where they don't know how to invest, they don't know where to place their factories, they don't know what sanctions are going to be imposed by our government or anyone else's government. And remember, these major corporations do 30-40% of their business outside the United States, and they're being hunted down and attacked. So now that you understand that, it is incredible opportunities to put the pieces together and make this work. Okay? And that's what I do. So everybody's got a job here. And everyone has a job according to skill set. Okay? And I really, really know how to analyze this. And I really, really know how to present it to you in a way that you can understand it. And you don't have to do the calculations on the trade and the mass and all the things that we do, because that's what I do. And as you've seen by of the thousands and thousands and thousands of trades out there, we're able to get down to 20 or 30 of them, and you might notice how they're rotating and getting better and better and better and better, okay? So you've got the analysis, you've got the vehicles, you've got the rationale that says this is why I use this vehicle, this is why I use this vehicle, okay? A good example is our recent trade in the FANG, which I really like, okay? Also, the interest rate instruments we put you into, as you know, that was another, important instruments that have worked out very well. So the answer is we really know what we're doing. And we really have a very high confidence in what we're doing. And we really want to take advantage of that, okay, by enhancing our trading. And it's my job to go through the complications of what is an enhanced trade, how does it work, what does it look like, and report to you. But you got to let me do my job. You got to let me reach out and bring into you this whole cornucopia of thoughts and ideas and decisions, okay? Then you have to sit there and go, okay. So you got the job. Your job is not that analytical, okay? That's my job. But your job is to look at it and say, well, let's see how this is doing. What is the proof of this? Remember I told you about the laboratory? If it works in a small drop, it's going to work in a big drop. If it unfolds like it's supposed to, in the scenarios with little tests, then the big moves come, okay? The big moves, for example, remember I did a countdown. I was there saying 100 and 180 days, 90. Remember that? I said within that time, this crazy market's going to peak and drop, and have the biggest drops ever. We had it. So that meant that analytical was correct. The rationale was correct, okay? I said to you that, look, crude oil is going to go to $72 to $74 a barrel. U.S. production is much bigger than they realize, and it's going to cut their balls off, and it did. Okay, now, those moves were nice moves at 2 and 3 times leverage. But there are a whole lot of different moves at 30 and 40 times leverage. So it's all a matter of what instruments you use to take advantage of them, okay? And that should help you there. And that's my job, okay? Your job is to decide how much leverage you want to do, but let me do my job. Let me give you, how can I put this? I've always been a big believer in because I'm so good at it, and my competition's not, to say, here's the trade, here's the rationale. Here are the pieces that go in there. Now, I know the talking heads are saying, well, we're going to have $100 barrel oil because Venezuela is not going to produce it, and Venezuela price is going down, and Russia's going to cut it off, and Iran sanctions. And I'm going, well, wait a minute. Venezuela is stabilized at 1.5. The United States has increased by 2 million barrels a day. The sanctions might take place in August and might not. In the meantime, there's a slowdown worldwide, and that in our scenarios that even if Venezuela oil comes out of the market 100%, which it will not, U.S. production make up for it. And if there's a situation where Iranian oil comes out of the market, Russia and China know well and have taught them last time how to get around the sanctions, so therefore it's bogus, right? And as you're seeing, it's kind of melting away. So it's easy to talk teleprompter bullshit with the little suit and with the little pretty little girls with the red dresses and the cleavage, but that shit don't count because they've never traded. Okay, and they really don't analyze. They really just read, okay? And they are basically products of the Wall Street establishment, and they are a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day infomercial to get you to buy what they're selling. Now, once you understand that and you track it, you go, yeah, well, look at this shit. Remember, you might remember when Goldman Sachs and those guys earlier this year said, yeah, we're going to put a high value on gold and silver this way because this is the year of commodity price increase, right? And I said, oh, bullshit. This is a year of recession and deflation. Well, what's happened? Well, gold has fallen on its ass all year long. You might notice that they don't stand up to that recommendation, and the gold market has been stuck at 1350 on the top, and silver is even a bigger disaster. Silver came off at $21 to $16. Okay, so in other words, all that shit sounds nice. 1,020 platinum's $900 platinum, so it's all good. And the dollar is under stress. And the dollar is not going to be good currency. Remember all that bullshit? Well, as you know with your own eyes, it's been a fantastic dollar trade. I say the dollar's king. Why? Because you've got basically zero interest rates in Germany. Okay, Germans are huge savers. They got a huge surplus economy. Okay, so therefore the rates are discouraging savings. They're trying to get people to kick the money out. Well, what happens? You got a wonderful situation where your yield, on the 10-year has been north and south of 10%, which is more than the yield on the stock market. Now, if you're an analyst, you understand that, then you know that rule-based analysts have got to take that safer bet. They've got no choice. Therefore, the money flows in, okay? If you're an analyst like I am, and I'm really good at it, you know that Venezuela is just a symptom of Latin America problems, and that the Mexican peso's plunged. The Argentina, forget that shit. Now we go down to the real in Brazil. They're riding in the streets over fuel, okay? I knew that. We knew the stresses, okay? But the talking heads don't, because they're not paid to. That's not the business they're in. So by understanding the analysis and how these markets react, you then can place a strategy, and that's what we do. And the strategy's worked very well. And we've done this for many, many years. I am a major move analyst, okay? I am not worth a shit unless I get a major move. And I need drivers of the moves, and I can anticipate. And I got the greatest mover of major shifts ever, and that's Donald, absolutely out of his Looneyberg insanity, incensed with anger, because he thought he was elected dictator of America, and he was untouchable. And he thought the FBI worked for him, and you know that. And now, it's like, and whatever he did to get elected was how they play things in New York City. Okay, they play a hard game there, and it doesn't work in Washington. It's a whole different set of rules, which he doesn't understand. So, all I can say is, ain't life wonderful? So whether there's a deep state conspiracy or not, I don't give a shit. Whether Democrats and FBI agents have gone rogue to bring down the president, I don't give a shit either. I really don't care. And whether he's innocent or guilty or a victim, I don't give a shit. All I know is he's going apeshit crazy. They're going apeshit crazy. Sanctions are being written. We are in a trade war. We're in a Kim Yum-junk bullshit session. You know Kim Yum-junk ain't going to do shit. He's going to stroke Donald Trump and get him that gold prize, and that's all Donald Trump wants for. And you know, as well as I do, that coal is not going to be great again, and aluminum and steel production is not how you build an economy. Now, our robot factories and our artificial intelligence and our algorithms and all of these 3D goggles and simulation, that's great again. And China don't have the technology. And Europe has 1/10 the investment in technology America does. Our countries are investing in it and bringing innovative products. Now, the reality is that China and Japan will copy our shit, okay? But the problem is we're moving ahead so much faster, you can have that old crap. So they have mastered better than Apple, and they have with the Hawaii and some of these phones. They built a better phone with a better screen and better touch position. That's fine. But we were left that behind. We're going to the next dimension. So if you understand that, then you realize how to place yourself, okay? And you're not going to stop it. You are not going to stop bad actors. You're not going to stop unfair trade practices. You are not going to stop the theft of intellectual property. Well, how do you do it? Well, you just develop more intellectual property faster, get it out there, deploy it, make money on it. Duh. It's very simple. And so these trade wars are stupid. We're fighting over, something from the dark ages of mankind. We were in the steel age, 200 years ago? Okay, so let them all fight over the steel age. We're going into, the artificial intelligence age. We're going into the robotic age, okay? And nobody's got a hedge on us. We do. Is that getting through? So God bless you. Let us rock and roll. Let us take advantage of the opportunities that offer themselves. And who's right and who's wrong and who did it and what deep state and all that, I don't care. I don't give a shit. All I know is that Donald Trump's war with a deep state or himself or his crimes or not crimes is a tradable situation that I can make a lot of money at. And it is now time to load for bear. It is now time for the greatest trading opportunities I've ever seen. Obviously, you're seeing the breaks, you're seeing the interest rate. So forget this crazy political shit. Make lots of friggin' money. And then you can do whatever you want with that big pile of money. Because let me tell you something. People who live in a tent in a park don't have a say in the game. They're not a player. If you want to be a player, you have to have money. If you want to be a survivor, well, like I told you, I saw the people leave during the Arab Spring. The hellholes are getting torn apart. And they were in five-star hotels. And they were on yachts. And they were buying, $1 million apartments. And I saw the ones that were coming, and they flew over there in G1 jets, and they landed at the airport, and they were met by immigration and welcoming them heroes, and here's your passport. And then I met the ones who didn't have any money, didn't have any clout, that were on little rubber inner tubes, and their babies died, and if they made it across, they were half drowned, and they're in refugee camps right now fighting over a roll of toilet paper. So that is reality of the world we live in. I did not do it. But I know how the game works, and I know how to prevent you from getting into it. So let us use our brains and our knowledge. Let us leverage what capital we have at risk. Take advantage of it. It's supposed to be risk capital. It's supposed to be leveraged for the max. Now, there are times when risk capital is at greater risk because you have markets that you don't understand. Then there are times where risk capital can be leveraged greatly because you understand the risk and quantify them, and your little laboratory, as you have seen, has proven that your analysis is right. We are just at such a Zen moment. We are just at such a turning point. It would be foolish to let this pass you by since we're on top of it. Now, as Donald Trump unfolds and implodes or explodes or becomes great again or doesn't become great again is all a factor in an economy that has interest rates going higher and a global recession. Look, China is not dumping steel on the global markets because things are going well. It is because things are getting ugly. Now, I've got to go. At 6 o'clock, we'll start live streaming our wellness report. That's another project of saving lives in human beings, and not a money project, by the way. It's something we stumbled into. And so coming up now on the live stream here will be Nick's wellness report. We're doing an interview with another guy. In fact, I'm going to do right now for that. And this is something that has been saving lives and changing lives, which I'm proud to be a part of. It's my giving back, if you understand that. And I'd like you to just tune in. So if you want to stay on this stream, we'll be coming up on that in a minute. If not, you can get it on the website, or you can get it through the invitation we sent you for the webinar. Anyway, it's my pleasure. Let me say this to you. It is a wonderful time with wonderful opportunities like I've never seen before, and it would behoove you to understand that and take advantage of it and make yourself great again. Because let me tell you something about all these assholes. Never trust a politician. They will sell you out and sell you down the river, and I think that's a lesson we've all learned a long time ago. So don't get so much involved in the rah-rah bullshit. Don't be fooled. Take advantage of the opportunities that present themselves at what we should say is a very target-rich investment opportunity. All right, I'll be back in about 10 minutes if you want to keep this stream going with the wellness report, and we'll have rock and roll fun with that. Bye-bye.